So for the next topic, we have headline number 6, which is the Bank of Doug.
Nice.
Ontario government is forming a new private bank. Premier Doug Ford's government is facing questions as to why it wants to establish a bank to attract private sector investments into projects such as long-term care homes, nuclear reactors, and student housing. The Ontario Infrastructure Bank was a showpiece announcement in the government's fall economic statement last week. The fiscal update revealed the province's current deficit sits at around $5.6 billion, 4 times higher than projected in the budget that the finance minister, Peter Bethlen Falvey, my gosh, Peter Bethlen Falvey.
We're just going to put that on the screen in writing. We're gonna
I'm going to have to most definitely write that. I'm going to say it again for good measure. Minister Peter Bethlen Falvey tabled in March. The minister is pitching an infrastructure bank as a way to finance the construction of these projects that perhaps otherwise wouldn't get built, end quote. So what do you think about this? How is this going to affect the people of Ontario going forward?
This is interesting, right? So there's actually good and bad here. And I think you have to be able to sort of discern which way it's going to go based on history. That's how I feel about this.
Okay.
So the idea of the Ontario Infrastructure Bank is not really a new idea because we had one called the Canada Infrastructure Bank started in 2017. So the idea here is that you're going to use private sector investments to build out infrastructure, which is not, and I'll tell you why it's a good idea. So this is a good idea for a reason. So what you do is you alleviate the upfront tax burden on citizens, right? And people argue, oh, well, you have to pay a little more in interest. Yeah, but that's not bad considering versus the high, like the investment itself out of the get. You know what I mean? So if it's an extra couple percentage in interest to make it appealing, that's okay. So you get to scale critical infrastructure faster by using private funds. This actually makes sense. And another reason why I think it's important in Ontario is back to our immigration problem, right? If over 1 million people have come to Canada this year, between permanent residents and non-permanent, and 40% of those are in Ontario, we have what's our biggest problem in managing these people is critical infrastructure, right? So if we can build out these things faster, this actually is a good system. This would work well. However, if you look at how things went with the Canadian Infrastructure Bank since 2017, it was a $35 billion investment from the government to begin with, to then draw in private investment. And they've been shredded apart for everything you can imagine. It was run like a government organization runs something. It was bullshit, right? So everything cost way too much money. Everything took way too long. Their selection process was a mess. Everything about how they ran this was a disaster. So if you look on a government website, they're like, oh, it was so important. We did such a great job. They've been nothing but criticized. And in 2017, the NDP and the Conservatives both said, if we're in power, this thing is gone tomorrow. Now, the Liberals haven't shut it down completely because they'll look like they have egg on their face, but they're not even using it. It's garbage, and it's not working well for the citizens of Canada, right? So, and again, it's not because it's not a good idea. It's because it's run by the government. So here's kind of my point. Based on, Doug Ford, we know that he's shown us a couple times that he will do corrupt things, right? Look at the the Greenbelt debacle, right? So this guy has shown you that he will make sure his buddies get paid, contracts move around, money moves around. He will make sure that that's how things go.
Make sure he gets paid.
Well, the thing is, it's that, but it's all the other people that are involved in it, right?
Yeah.
So if you can trust people to be who they're going to be, you can say, well, if Doug Ford's in charge of this, there's probably going to be some corruption, right? And on the other side of it, it's going to be a government-run organization. Well, how's the CMHC doing? Not very well. They
12 homes out of, what was it?
687. They converted at 2% efficiency. And then look at how the CIB is working. Also, not very well, as it's already on its way out after only 5 to 6 years of being in business. So the reality is, good idea, but it's not going to go well because the people that are involved in running it.
Execution is everything, and I've seen that in many different environments. It doesn't matter. You can have the right game plan, the right setup, the right players, the right team, the right this. But if you can't execute on it, it's just not gonna work out. And I just don't understand how adding more government-controlled financial entities is gonna help. Like, in my personal opinion, just because I think we already have a little bit too much government involvement going on.
Yeah.
So it's like, there is some positives to it, but like I just think the negatives outweigh the positives on a grander scale. I just think that, you know, opening up, you know, our financial system to more global investment, you know, and allowing for more, like, let's say smaller or regional banks would be a far better idea than just like, you know, creating this new government investment bank core that we're not going to know what their standards are going to be, and, you know, what's going to hold them accountable, and, you know, what's their process on, you know, on investment and everything like that, and are they even going to, you know, get the right type of people to run it in the first place? So that's just a little bit of my concern there.
Yeah, I mean, here's how I look at things like this. The private sector moves 10 times faster than the public sector, right? Because it's capitalistically driven. They want to make their money. But when you combine efforts, what I notice you get is the lowest common denominator is the one that kind of runs the show. So based on how the government operates and how inefficient they are, how bloated their system is, how much extra money they spend, how much red tape you have to cut through, that's the system that's going to dominate. So even though they're saying, oh, the private sector's involved, it's still going to operate the same way as all the rest of their stupid programs. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how this one develops, but I'm not too hopeful on that one either.
If you like this video, make sure you check out this one right here. And if you want to watch the full podcast, make sure you check this out here.